Here's something that I think is interesting. Kyle Shanahan likes the idea of this quarterback competition because he thinks someone will emerge and competition will organically produce a good quarterback. But I don't think that's necessarily what's happening or what could happen. It seems to me that if what keeps happening, what has happened keeps happening, which is young quarterbacks play poorly, that it's just going to hurt the team's morale every single day when Brock Purdy's throwing a bunch of short passes and going like 50%, and Trey Lance is like hanging his head, and Sam Darnold's like, doing Sam Darnold things. At what point are these wide receivers going to be like, we're just not very good? We don't have a quarterback. I feel like the last few years, these practices didn't matter as much because Jimmy was so consistent in games. He was just so predictably Jimmy. You knew what you were going to get from Jimmy, good and bad. But now, I think there's a little bit of question with this team. Like, Brock was good for half a season and he's hurt and he's not what he was. When is the real Brock coming back? He hasn't stepped up yet. When will the real Brock show his face? He hasn't done that yet. Is Trey Lance improving? I don't know. They said he looked confident. Now he doesn't. So I think it's going to be interesting to during these practices, just watching the wide receivers, their body language. I think they probably, like Brandon Ayuk in particular, maybe Debo too, have fantasies about running go routes and deep routes and catching long passes. And I think as this unfolds, they're probably looking like, okay, slants. All right, we're doing slants this year. Sounds good. Slants and screens, everyone. I don't know. And what's funny about this quarterback competition, it's a bunch of guys who don't make any money, and they're all the scapegoats because the team is ready to go, great team. And if these quarterbacks don't step up, then it's their fault. But I think that's not fair because the only reason the Niners roster is so good is because they don't invest in quarterbacks. I think it shouldn't be that hard to make a great roster if you literally disregard the most important, most expensive position. And the Niners are celebrated for doing this. Don't take the position seriously at all. Get a bunch of cheap guys and spend all your money on running backs, linebackers, defensive tackles, wide receivers, cornerbacks, safeties, do all that. I think there's a reason why no other team does that. It's not necessarily a proven recipe for success. And instead of having people talk about like, hey, the Niners aren't really being serious at the quarterback position, we're taking this quarterback competition seriously. Like, hey, Sam Darnold was a little bit better than Trey today, so Sam must be winning. Like, so far, the story from camp is that all the quarterbacks are terrible. So far, is that good? So I think it's a matter of time. I'm curious to see what happens to team morale. I wonder if last year was a lot of that. Debo Samuel holding out. Was it just because he didn't want to be part of a Trey Lance offseason? I don't know. Patek says this era is soft, not as tough as the 1960s. Yeah, when I was a kid in 1964, things were way different. I remember those times. Dave Barclay says, love the hat, Grant. I'm from Grass Valley originally, and Rough and Ready is right there. That's right. Not much of a town, but for me, it's nostalgia. I just think it's funny that it actually exists. What a great name. Will Kyle ever be responsible for anything? Yeah, the good things that happen, not the bad things, of course.